take action. And you don't always have to know what that middle looks like. Throw it against the wall and see where the cracks are and then fill the cracks in.
Hello, everybody. This is Jake Stenziano, host of the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, chef, father, six, the best-selling author, the G-Daddy, Gino Barbo. Gino, how's it going?
Mr. Stenziano, I'm doing really good, actually, during this time of crisis. Time to pull the systems, time to work on the team, time to be grateful for what we have instead of focusing on what we don't have. So for us, it's been a nice couple of weeks. I'm just hoping that the country opens back up, and I'm hoping that people up north are able to start getting together and getting out of their homes and getting back to real life. So how you doing?
Let's open this baby up, man. I'm ready. Time to drop the hammer. I'm sick of this crap. So we got a great guest today. Today's guest is Don Costa. Don is the host of Flip Talk Podcast, and he is on a mission to give real, actionable content that you can use to grow your real estate business. So without further ado, Don, welcome to the show.
How you doing, man? Glad to be here.
Doing great. Happy to have you here. And I know you have some stories to tell. You have some great wall art there behind you, but you also had some trials and tribulations that we found out before the show. So why don't you give us a little bit about your background and how you got started in real estate?
Yeah, so I started 17 years ago, which it kind of dates me a little bit, but I started way back in 2003. And I think I kind of started before that, if I'm being honest. I've been an entrepreneur, born and bred. I've started a few different businesses, some successful, some not. And real estate always seemed like something that I was interested in. And I think like a lot of people out there, most people out there, I felt like it was unachievable because I didn't have, money behind me or credit or this or that. And it took me a while to fall into it. And about 2003, I got started knocking on doors. I had a few things aligned where I had the confidence to move forward. Started knocking on doors for pre-foreclosure, picking up property subject to, doing some really cool creative stuff, getting properties, started rehabbing properties and doing some stuff like that, and started building a business. So built a business for almost 5 years, a real estate company, a mortgage company, property management company. I had multiple offices, not running a real business because I thought that I was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I thought everything had to stop with me. I had to make every decision. I was a bottleneck. But if you guys were in, I'm sure you guys were in back then, you could, make a mistake on a property and the values were increasing so rapidly that the market was just hiding your flaws. And so I was fooled into thinking that I was a great business person, that I was a great leader, that I was all these things when I really wasn't. And when 2008 came around, it was like, just kind of turning the lights on, right?
Peekaboo.
Shining reality onto the whole situation. And of course, me not having a real business and, me not having a real team and me having all these holes in my ship just became, exposed. And I began to slowly lose everything over a period of a couple of years.
So Don, what was those holes in the ship? Let's get specific on what you did back in 2008. See if there's any correlation with what's going to happen today. Because I know back in 2008, multifamily took a hit. But one of the big problems was a lot of people had collateral loans. So everything was collateralized together. So if one deal goes bad, it takes the whole portfolio down. And I think, honestly, a lot of people, if they could ride the wave, if their debt didn't come due and they could ride the wave, they were okay. I know a lot in the single-family home space didn't have that. That's why they were going based on comps. They were completely over-leveraged. So what was specifically wrong in your business?
Well, there was a lot of things, systems, processes, people, just leadership in general was huge, and I can break those down. But I was also over-leveraged. I was over-leveraged in a lot of ways in my business, and that was probably the foundation of it all, was just being over leveraged, not properly capitalized.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that crosses, real estate, commercial, multifamily. I think it crosses a single family. If you're not properly capitalized in your business, you're not going to see long-term success because, one road bump in your operation and the house of cards starts to come down a little bit. So, So not being properly capitalized, but then it just, I wasn't the right leader. Like everything had to be, come through me. I was a bottleneck, and all decisions had to come through me. So things weren't getting done. I didn't trust my team. I didn't build people around me that I could trust and count on to, get things done in a proper way. And that was a huge component to my failure. Not believing my own BS, right? That I was great, and not not being humble was another issue. So when the market turned, and I was warned that I was, that I was going to lose everything if I didn't make changes. But I thought that it was, I thought I was going to be able to beat the market. I thought that I was great. I really believed it. And I was like, put me in any city in the USA and I'll make $10,000 in a week, and so, not reacting quickly, not having my house in order, chasing shiny objects, all the things you see people do now. And I just cringe and I'm just like, oh God, come on, don't do that. Cause you start to believe when the market's been good for so long, especially between 2008 and 2020, the market's been good for such a good run that you start to believe that it's never going to end. And you start to cut corners. And I cut a lot of corners back then. And that was at the end, my demise.
So there's a few things that I need to add to what you said. Shiny object, and Jake's going to love all these because this is right up our alley. Right. Stay in your lane. If you're in multifamily, crush that lane. Don't start doing master lease options if you don't know them yet. Don't start going into office space. Really own one space. The second thing is the people, the systems, and the culture. And when you first start out in investing, maybe you don't need that. But as you start scaling up to 30, 40, 50, 100 units, you need Jake and Gino. You need the buy right, the manage right, and the finance right, because buying and financing are great. There's the dopamine hit, but you need the systems person to help you manage these properties, right? And I think the pie in the sky, right, Jake? Can't afford it, can't get into it. Well, what about owner financing is coming back now, bro? Master lease options, so you don't need the money, and you have syndicate also. So there's so many strategies. You don't know what you don't know. That's the problem with most people. They assume things, and they're not true. So that's a scary part. If you had to start all over again, how would you start? How would you have done things differently? I mean, let's go into like after 2008, you lose everything. How did you pick yourself back up and continue?
Well, to be real with you, like I didn't just pick myself up and continue. Like I lost everything and I went into this like massive depression and I had, just horrible moments. So, and the whole other conversation, but essentially I was going to the grocery store with a calculator and buying gas, with quarters a gallon at a time. And it was bad. I had a wife and kids, and it just got to a point where I tried to get a job. I tried to quit real estate and life wouldn't let me. I couldn't get a job. I was undereducated or overqualified. No one was getting hired in 2009, 2010, 2011. And I finally looked in the mirror and took a self-assessment on like, what am I good at? Well, I'm good at identifying deals. And I'm good at putting money together. And so I was like, all right, well, let's get back out there. And I posted an ad on Craigslist in 2011, the end of 2011, saying basically, experienced flipper looking for private money investor, must be close enough to have a cup of coffee. And I had 6 people call, one person I met with. And I had meeting after meeting with this guy. And I just didn't have the confidence to get him to commit to funding me on deals. And I was sitting in the last meeting with him before he committed. And I got a text from my wife that our water been shut off. And I was like, I can go home with my tail between my legs, or I can get this guy to commit to funding me. And I sat there as long as it took. And I finally got him to commit to funding me on a deal. I went out and found a deal. And June 2012, we did it. JV partner, he put up the money. I did all the work. It was a structured situation. And September of 2012, we sold that property, made 20 grand. I got 10. I got half the profit. And I was back in business. So but from there, it was just a matter of, sticking to the fundamentals, blocking and tackling. What lane am I good at?
Nail the basics, man. I say that all the time. Let's just nail the basics this week. I love that.
Yeah. So, it's just sticking to what I was good at, and then working hard to be a better leader, as I built a team around me and to develop people that I could trust to handle things better than I could. Because the one thing that, look, as entrepreneurs, we're really good at vision, but we suck at everything else. Let's just be real, right? And especially if you're going to build a large business, you got to start putting some people around you that are just really good at what they do, that are going to, really kind of be the foundation and the pillars to the business you're building. If you're going to go into multifamily, commercial, or even residential investing, you need to have, people who are smart with numbers and accounting and money and attorneys with legal. And you need to start having the people around you that you can have confidence with, the people in your office you can have confidence with to help you with the day-to-day activities, the things that you're not good at. And that's really what I've focused on, the last few years.
So I'm going to rename Don the Imma guy. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. When Don stopped doing the Imma and start focusing on people, right. We've hired some of those people. How do you find those people, and how do you cultivate those people, and how do you keep them on the team? That's a pretty long question, but let's first focus on finding them and sharing your vision with them?
So you got to turn a lot of dirt to get the gold. It's a reality. I think in a lot of this business, right? You have to turn a lot of dirt to get the gold. You have to really look for quality in people and talent. I look for the person first. Is what it comes down to. I want the person before the experience, because sometimes when you bring experience into your organization, the experience can actually be poison pill, because they want to do it their way,
We've
right?
seen it. We've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want the person first. Are they teachable? Are they coachable? Are they loyal? Like if they have that, then I can build on that. If you're teachable, coachable, loyal, hardworking, I can build on that. So we bring them in, and I try to bring people into my organization. It's not always perfect, but I try to bring people in my organization before I need them, because when you're in the weeds, it's a wrong time to bring somebody in. And then we just develop them. We give them a piece of the puzzle, and once they master that, we give them the next piece, and once they master that, we give them the next piece. When I look at myself and my growth, my personal growth, my business growth, if I put the weight of my business on my shoulders, 17 years ago, I would crush myself under the weight. Who I became was through, experience and time and making mistakes and failures. And you got to build your people the same way. You really do. You got to give them an opportunity to make decisions on their own and make mistakes and learn from it. And you got to build them over time into the position that you want them to be in. The best people I have in my organization, it took me, 3, 6 months, or even sometimes a year to really get them to the level of confidence in themselves and my confidence in them, to where I could just let them go and run. And they're the people that are the hardest working. They're the people that are the most loyal. They're the people that I know have my back through thick and thin. The people that I've just tried to plug and play through building business are the first ones that will try to cut my throat every single time. And I've just learned that through the years.
So as far as systems goes, just can you mention a couple of systems? I can give you an example for us, sales team, create systems on a sales team, building sales scripts, finding impact together. That's what we're trying to do with our sales team. What kind of systems have you implemented that have really helped you grow?
So the first thing for I just want to say out there to simplify systems. I mean, everybody thinks systems are these big sexy things, right? Like, give me systems and my business will be great. Systems are just boundaries. They're a box. They're your if this then that. And once you simplify that, you realize that pretty much anything in your organization is a system. We use Slack as a communication tool. That's the tool that's kind of the foundation of a system for communication in our organization. So when we have a property, we don't do anything. We don't email, we don't text, we don't phone call. We communicate in Slack on that property. If we have a conversation in the office with each other, one of us will stop and Slack that conversation. We're documenting everything. So that way we have a whole history from the time we got that property in contract to the time we have sold or disposed of that property. We have a whole history of communication on that property where, everything that we need to know about any decision that was made was there. And that came out of, well, who made this decision and who approved that, right? And so it became that Slack became that system. So we go through our operation and we have systems. We have end of day reports. Everybody's got to do an end of day report. They have to do certain things, on certain days and certain times. And that's part of that end of day report that they send every day, so that we kind of have that accountability, and that becomes a system in our organization. How we pay our contractors. We make them bill us on Friday. We make them pre-bill us for the work that they're going to do, because we do a lot of rehabs, and they don't pick up their check until the following Friday. So it controls that right there. They pre-bill us. So they set a goal for the work that they're going to do. We come in, we know what our weekly liabilities are going to be on Monday morning. We submit to our investors for reimbursement for our rehab funds before we have to pay the contractor out. We actually get it in our bank, so that solves cash flow issues. And then we hand out the checks to the contractors on Friday as long as they finish the work. So now we're controlling the contractor's timeline, and we've got that carrot to make sure things are getting done. So that's a system.
And I like getting paid weekly.
So, and they love getting paid weekly, so it motivates them. So you can have them super complicated or super simple, but really they're just the thing you do every single time in your business.
I love that. So we use Asana. We use Appfolio for property management software. We might be going to a company called Tenant Turner for some type of onboarding for tenants. We use Google Docs. We do a daily huddle in the morning. and we also do a weekly pulse. So we've grown also. 5 years ago, if you're talking to me about this stuff, I'd be like, what is he talking about? I have no idea what he's talking about, just like you. But as you grow and as you start adding on to your number of units or number of people, you need to have these systems. It's ironic that it's a real estate show, multifamily, and we haven't talked about real estate yet. Isn't that? It's amazing.
People, systems, culture, baby. It's a business.
Right? Yeah. So let's dive into the real estate a little bit. Specific niches. You're in wholesaling, fixing and flipping, rehabbing. Do you own any units yourself and manage?
We own single family rentals. We don't own any multifamily at this point in time. It's definitely something that's on my radar. And I think more so now with what's going on in the economy, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity unfolding here in the near future. So, but again, when it came to staying in my lane, it's what I knew. I wanted to make sure my business was stable. I finally got a COO in place and almost at the point where she's able to operate my organization completely without me. And so that's where I'm taking a portion of my team. We're going to be focusing on multifamily and commercial.
So what do you like the most about what you're doing in real estate?
What I like the most about what I'm doing in real estate, honestly, the thing that really drove me was I like the hunt. I really, really like the hunt, and more so now than before. I can't do it because we're a large organization at this point. We do a couple hundred transactions a year, deals a year actually. So, but I like the hunt. For me, the hunt is more important than the money. I don't know how you guys are built, but the money was just gravy on top. I liked, I did a lot of the acquisitions myself, and I liked going and talking and negotiating and playing the game and getting the kill, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So if I'm a new investor, I'm out there. I know multifamily is a place to be, but I need to get into real estate. What advice would you give them to where to start in real estate?
If your brand spanking new and green, wholesale is always a great place to start because you want proof of concept. You want to be able to show that you can make money, and that's the fastest way to a check. Mm-hmm. I think the thing is that honestly, let me re-answer that. Where you need to start is you need to sit down and have a come to Jesus meeting with yourself and really identify what your why is, what your purpose is, what it is that you want to accomplish. Because you may want to start in multifamily first. You may want to start in residential first. You may want to be buy and hold right out of the gate. You may want to be transactional out of the gate. And so you don't create your own prison and create something that you don't want. I think the first thing you do is figure out exactly what it is that your goal is, what the end result is.
Pick the right vehicle, right?
Pick the right vehicle.
That's going to align with your values and your needs.
Right.
Boom.
And be real. Because so many people, they end up going entrepreneurial across the board, not just in real estate, but in any business. They set out to create freedom. In fact, I just did a video on this earlier, and they end up building their own prison. And that's the last thing I think any of us on the show want them to do. So find the vehicle that's going to be right for you, and then find the expert, find the mentor, coach community that you can get behind you so that you can educate yourself.
So education times action equals results. We always discuss that. Right. Also. Don, let's jump into your multiple streams of revenue. We wrote The Honeybee. It's a parable about building multiple streams or complementary streams of revenue. How does that look in your organization?
So we have the buy and holds on the residential side. Obviously, we do a wholesale, which is really quick money. We do the rehabs, which is a little bit longer money. Then 3 years ago, I started the podcast Flip Talk because I wanted to stay in my lane. I didn't want to chase shiny objects like I'd done before. Last time around, I opened a restaurant, nightclub, and did all kinds of other crazy things. Money I was making.
You got to read the book, man.
I'll have to do that. Did you? One of you guys do that? And then of course, Flip Talk has evolved into a mastermind community and coaching and everything else, and which is created some other streams of income as well. So it's essentially in a nutshell.
That's great, because that's exactly what we did. We started buying multifamily. We said, you know what, let's start a podcast. Podcast sounds like fun. Yeah. Did a podcast, and all of a sudden we said, you know what, let's start syndicating deals. Let's start raising capital and have a syndication company. And you're in the residential space. It's the same exact vehicle. But what's amazing about it is that your Flip Talk really generates a lot of, I guess, credibility and a lot of traction for your other businesses. So right. Out of all those businesses, which one do you like the best?
I like them all for different reasons. I love doing the podcast stuff and putting content out and interacting with our mastermind community because I love seeing people grow and just accomplish the things they want to accomplish. I get to talk to some incredible people across the United States, and that's great. on the house flipping wholesaling side, I love rehabbing because I like to turn communities around. I love seeing us improve neighborhoods, and I'd love to see the before and after on properties. So there's, and I have a great team. I love seeing my team grow and do good things. So, I mean, I love it all for a lot of different reasons. If I'm being real, I don't think I could pick just one. It's like having, I have 3 kids. There's not one that I'm going to say I love the most. So,
well,
at least not on the show. Afterwards,
Yeah,
we'll talk about that.
I think what you said early on in the show really hit us earlier. Jake and I were talking about being properly capitalized. Mm-hmm. What do you see as there's so much opportunity right now getting into the market right now? And I always tell people it's never the right time to get into real estate unless it's the right time for you. What obstacles do you see getting into the market going forward?
Well, right now, today is the unknown. There's so many unknowns, and it's evolving day to day and week to week. And we just don't know like what the whole economic impact of COVID-19 is going to have on the world. I mean, you have Las Vegas casinos closed. When has that ever happened? I mean, really, and how many billions of dollars is that sucking out of the economy just by itself? Mm-hmm. So the uncertainty is a challenge, but the uncertainty can be an opportunity if you're level-headed, if you're going in for the right reasons. At the end of the day, if you're making the right deals, there are a lot of creative strategies out there that could probably work under the right reasons. I see so many people use creative strategies to buy properties 25% over market, which I think is, I think that is reckless. Personally. That's just my opinion. But 2008 taught me that, because I did that. I did subject to and creative financing where I was buying properties over their value because I was betting the market was going up. And then when it didn't, that was painful. I was carrying seconds on properties when I was selling them, betting the market was going to go up, and then it didn't. And I just lost a lot of, I guess, opportunity money from not being smart. So I think that as long as you're looking and evaluating deals properly, underwriting them properly, taking in consideration the possibilities in the market right now in your purchase, then you can do it right. If you're coming in and you just think it's the wild, wild west, and you can be crazy and creative and overpay for properties, I think it's the wrong time. I don't know.
So how do you see yourself actually going forward as far as your systems and your people? Are you shifting anything going forward as far as hiring more, scaling back, raising more capital? What do you see yourself doing in your business?
So 3 weeks ago, because California went on lockdown, and that's about the time the casinos closed, I went on preservation. I went into preservation mode, basically. I've been through this once. I didn't act fast enough. In this particular case, I wanted to make sure that I acted faster. In that, I would rather that be a mistake than the latter, right? Mm-hmm. So I went through my personal P&L, I went through my business P&L, and anything that didn't make sense was gone. I just, if I had a gym membership that I hadn't used in 6 months, which I had one I actually hadn't used in 3 years because I ended up getting a different one and I just never canceled it, it's gone. So I went through everything and I just got my house in order. I think that's the most important thing for people to do right now during this time, is to absolutely get your house in order. Look at your expenses, look at your team. Was there anybody there that was just barely keeping their head above water? Look, I mean, this is business. We're in this to be profitable. I'm not saying you'll cut the people that have had your back for years, but if there's somebody on your team that didn't really make sense and you just kind of kept them around because you're being nice, it's time for them to go. Mm-hmm. And just go through and get your house in order. And that's what I've done. And then we're just positioning and we're watching to see when the opportunities are going to arise. There's going to be tremendous opportunities that unfold from this. It's just a matter of, picking the right moment for you and your organization.
So what opportunities do you think you see for yourself, for your type of business model?
Well, so that's a good question, because I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know which way the real estate market's going to go. I just know it's going to, I mean, we could have some crazy things happen, with government bailout that drive the real estate market forward. And I want to be in a position to capitalize on that. My bet is we're probably going to see some stagnation or it drops some. And I definitely want to be in a position to capitalize on that. So right now we're having conversations, we're educating sellers on, basically how the market's changing. And, we're looking at creating those in our follow-up and everything else, those relationships, so that we can, as this thing evolves, get the best opportunity we can. We're having conversations with private money. Private money has seen the stock market get very volatile. We're going back to all our private money and we're shoring up relationships. We're making sure we're talking to them on a regular basis. We're making sure they know we have a plan, as far as we've gotten our house in order, and we're watching the market day by day, and we're putting together plans to implement to move forward. New private money, we're creating those relationships, letting them know, again, we have a plan. I think that's the most important thing is communication right now and shoring up your relationships when it comes to money. And I'm kind of waiting right now. If I'm being real, and this, 6 months from now, people might think I'm crazy for that, or they might think I was a genius. But I'm just kind of waiting to see how things unfold. Commercial. There's a lot of questions as to, are people going to be paying their leases? Are people going to realize that virtual was easy and maybe not renew leases? There's a lot of questions out there right now, and what I'm not doing this time is assuming that I know. If that makes sense. And, hopefully that's a fair assessment, but, and I'm watching as things unfold. I think as we start to see the market start to open back up and restaurants start to open back up and, real estate start to take off again, then we'll have an answer which way to go. If I had to put it all on black right now, I think we have a president in office who doesn't want to lose. And I think that they're going to come out with some crazy loan programs. That would be my bet. Like the ninjas, right? The no income, no assets, and they're going to lower credit. Credit's getting restrictive right now, but I think they're going to do some things to relieve that, and that to try to drive the real estate market, and that could take us out of this with a little bit of fire under us, if that makes sense. So,
yes, and I'm hoping that I don't want to say hoping, but I think what's going to happen is it's going to be harder to get a loan, right, for personal residence. So I think in the multifamily space for us, it looks pretty good. When you go into a recession, people don't have money for down payments. So that's why we're poised in multifamily, and we've been bullish on it for a long time. And it's, food, clothing, and apartments, the three basic human needs. We always talk about that. Do you deal a lot with self-directed IRA money, a lot of money from 401ks and self-directed?
Yeah. Well, self-directed, yeah.
Yeah, on that, are you seeing people pulling back and not wanting to cash out? Because if they've got more money in their 401k and you're going to have them roll it over into a self-directed, they're going to take a 30 or 40% haircut. How do you process that? How do you get over to them and say, hey, listen, now's the time to do it?
I'll be honest with you, I haven't, as far as having them roll over. I work with a lot of our private money uses their self-directed IRAs to fund our deals. Yes. But yeah, I haven't got into advising people to move money. That hasn't,
that hasn't been moved. My lane. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you've got money already there. So does that make a substantial amount of your private money, people using self-directed?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Multiple millions of dollars.
So
the money we use.
Yeah. How do you educate them on that? Because we have the same thing. About 45 to 50% of our last syndication was from IRA money. So how do you educate people to use money from their 401k, roll it into a self-directed, and use that self-directed?
Well, the process for what we do is fairly easy. We pay a really, really good interest rate. So we just, I sit down honestly and I have a conversation. I just kind of walk them through. I figure out what their goals are, figure out what they're looking to accomplish, let them know what we do and how we do it. We get an assessment of kind of, where their money's at and are they cash heavy? Are they IRA heavy? Most of them are retirement accounts. Mm-hmm. We just kind of sit down and show them. We do notes and deeds of trust on our properties. So they lend into escrow. They get a note of deed of trust. It records. When we sell, they get the money back. So it goes right back to their IRA. So, and we just walk them through our process. We're really transparent as an organization. We give our investors weekly reports, like I said, every week on what our expenses are. And we handle the process up and up like you would on a structured, real business. And we just walk them through that entire process. It's about as safe as it can be. Really, for me, what I've learned when I sit down with investors to raise money and educate them on, how to use their money with us, it's a matter of showing them that we're the horse they can bet on. That's really what it comes down to. It doesn't matter if you have a property that you're buying for $100,000 that's worth $1 million. If you can't get that thing to the finish line, it doesn't do anybody any good. You got to show them that you can get it to the finish line, that you're a good operator, and that no matter what happens in that transaction, that you're going to stick to it thick and thin, and make sure that thing is resolved and that they're made whole. And that's really, in any meeting I have, the primary thing that I'm educating them on, or I'm making them feel comfortable with, is me. And my ability to make sure that we're going to do the things that we're going to do. That's really where my focus is at, is I'm the horse you can bet on. Because a lot of people they'll go, what's my security? You go, well, you get a note of deed of trust. You can foreclose if I don't do what I'm supposed to do. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to know that they're going to have to do extra work to get their money back. You want to, my thing is you get a note of deed of trust, yes, but that's, you get that recorded against the property. But really, at the end of the day, I'm the security. I'm the one that's going to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, whatever happens in the market, whatever happens in that property, I'm going to make sure that we get that thing to the finish line. And it comes down to how we run our business, how we buy our assets, everything. We're not betting the market. We're not speculating. You know, it's a good deal when we buy it, and we make sure that we have room for error in there, and we build confidence in the money that we're borrowing that way.
I like that. Before we get to the short answer questions, what markets are you focusing on right now?
So we go from Bakersfield to Sacramento, and then we're in 2 counties in the Bay Area, and then we're up in Eugene and Springfield, Oregon.
So some pretty expensive markets, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Our main market, Fresno, California, is like most of the United States, but we are in the Bay. We're dealing with $500,000 to multi-million-dollar properties up there. Absolutely.
Surely there's at some point there'll have to be some deals coming out of this thing, but we'll just see for the the fix and flips at least. So, all right, gang, let's take a quick time out to hear from our sponsor.
At Rand Capital, we're focused on providing the best financing option for each deal and every client. Our personalized service, along with our blue-collar work ethic, will give you the peace of mind to know that we will take the stress out of the financing process so that you can focus on other aspects of your business. For more information and to find out how Rand Capital can help you find the best loan for your deal, visit randcapllc.com to start the conversation.
All right, we are back. What is your best habit for success? Something you do on a personal level that fuels you day in and day out?
Wow. My best habit for success, I think, is just consistency. I build a lot of consistency in what I do. I think, like most entrepreneurs, you know, I'm ADD, like a lot of people who get into business and stuff like that. So I build a lot of consistency into my day to make sure that I have the right processes and things that I'm doing, that I get things done and get things to the finish line. I make sure that I'm controlling my mind. Your mind's like a dog. You can tell it, you know, pee over here and not over there. And I'm constantly having that conversation. We all have this voice in our head about, you know, at any level, you have this doubt that creeps in, you know, this imposter syndrome feeling. And so I'm making sure that I have the right conversations with myself, making sure I'm surrounding myself with the right people. I'm listening to the right people. I think it's all of that.
Hashtag keep it boring.
Keep it boring.
It's those same days over and over again of doing the right things that eventually lead to bigger and better things. And that's the hard thing. And that goes back to the no shiny object that we talked about earlier. If you can kind of stay in your lane, keep doing, you know, the good things over and over again, you do see some great results from it. It's just sometimes it's monotonous and boring, but it works.
Yeah. You got to reward yourself too. I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, I take trips with my family and I do things and I enjoy my time. You know, I went to Vegas for one of our meetings and with some friends, we rented like 3 Lamborghinis and 2 McLarens and an Aston Martin, you know, and we had a good time. I'm never going to buy one, but I'll go rent one for a day and have a blast. I mean, we're going 130 miles an hour through Red Rock Canyon in Vegas and passed the sheriff, which was a great story. He didn't do anything. He didn't even stop, but, you know, but you got to reward yourself. But at the same time, it's about building generational wealth. You got to be smart with what you do and your money and that kind of thing. So.
What's your best tip for scaling a business?
Oh, people and systems. You know, I think this is just in general for even getting started. You know, one of the things I do is I know what the end goal is, and I know where I'm starting. I don't know what the middle looks like right now, and I don't get hung up in that. I sit down with my team and we start with, you know, meetings 3 times a day. And then we go to daily meetings and then we go to every other day. And then we go to once a week as we're building that process out. And so building the right people around you, building the right systems and processes, making sure you have communication, make sure your team is bought into the goal, and then take action, take action. And you don't always have to know what that middle looks like, throw it against the wall and see where the cracks are and then fill the cracks in.
You mentioned earlier you're considering multifamily. How do you plan on finding that first deal?
That is a fantastic question. So networking is how I really got things going for myself again when I got started back into the real estate investing genre as it is. And so networking is what we've kind of started doing already. We do some marketing, we do some direct mail. I do a lot of direct mail in my real estate business. I sent out 1.2 million postcards in 2008 and 800,000 postcards in 2018, 19. We're already marketing to multifamily with postcards and letters, and we are getting some results from that and starting some conversations. But honestly, my feeling is that networking and having the right relationships is where a lot of the best deals are going to come from.
Any book recommendations, something that you've read recently that you found value in?
The one I want to share is not one I read recently. It's the one that put me on the path for entrepreneurship, and that is How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think that is an important book to read, especially if you're in sales, if you're in the relationship game. How to Win Friends and Influence People is the one that put me on the path. And I read Think and Grow Rich and then Rich Dad Poor Dad. But really, I think honing your skills with people, because that relationships with private money, relationships with sellers, relationships with buyers, relationships with your team, that's the foundation to your success.
In my humble opinion, if you're in real estate, I think you're in sales as well. Yeah. And I'll just leave it at that. What project are you excited about right now?
I am excited about a lot of the education stuff I'm doing right now. To be honest with you, we're building out a lot of stuff on the back end right now that I'm really excited. You can make a lot of money, but the thing that I think is going to be legacy is the lives that we change. And that's really what excites me.
Dude, 100%, right? I mean, I keep getting these emails from students and from people just listening to the podcast and saying, I bought my first deal, just I listened to your podcast. And then I just keep showing to my wife, and I just got that little ego going. She's like, you know what? Stop bragging. And I'm like, it's not about the bragging. It's like a dopamine hit. It's like you're talking about being the hunter, right? And hunting for the deals. And it's like, now that I can find somebody and help somebody out and get them out of their situation and make them quit their job or make them even change their mindset from a scarcity to an abundance mindset. There's nothing, I'm telling you, there's nothing better in this world. Once you have that, once you've been able to pay your bills and you're taken care of and you can start focusing on others, it is nothing. I totally agree with you 100%. There's nothing better than that. It is awesome.
It's the same thing like we were talking about last night. We made a commitment to our employees not to lay anyone off due to everything that's been going on with this. And it's interesting because we're starting to get thank you emails rolling in. Thank you, for carrying the company on your shoulders. Thank you for keeping us a place to work and all this stuff. So that is super rewarding because you're changing lives and you're doing right by people. So it's great to see. Now, my boy G Daddy down there lives in beautiful St. Augustine, Florida. Who knows? Maybe someone was over-levered, didn't have the right systems. They got into a deal, and all of a sudden, they need to sell it. Fire sale. The G-Dad says, I'm going to go in and fix and flip. What's the best way for him to get a hold of you if he wants to go down that road?
Yeah, you can email me at don@fliptalk.com. I reply to email. You can find me anywhere on just about any platform, from YouTube to iTunes to Stitcher to Facebook to Instagram. I'm at Real Don Costa on Instagram. So wherever you find me, message me. I do reply. And yeah.
One-on-one mentorship with the Don, with the G-Daddy, getting the fix and flip game on. I love it. Gino, what else you got?
There's a lot of stuff in this podcast that's really important. Let's hammer this again. It's all about the people, the systems, and the culture. I think that's really important. I think, Jake, when you start scaling up, I think having proper capitalization for your company is important. Mm-hmm. Don, you had mentioned, and maybe this is probably going to be an exercise for you going forward in the future, your financial house has to be in order. Let's not get sloppy when we're making a lot of money, because what happens, that sloppiness, all of a sudden, when you get a little fat and a little rich, things start falling in the cracks. And then when something does happen, a shock to the system, you don't know how to react. So we actually brought on an accountant, a bookkeeper. Shout out to Leanna. She is crushing it. I mean, our systems are okay, our accounting is okay, but now the last few months, it has been an amazing transformation for us. And we're on our income and expense statements every single month. We know where there's holes and we can react to it. And that's really important, Jake. I think when you
great culture fit.
Rock star and just a great person overall. And like Don said, it's really about the people, the systems, and the culture. And don't think of this systems as something big. And one thing I like to say about systems, when you're doing something in your business, document it. And that becomes a system. How do you pick up the phone? How do you greet a tenant resident when they walk into the office? How do you actually move that resident in? All those little systems.
Save that mental energy. It's done at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. Shoot a YouTube video on how to do it, and that's how you can train your employees. Something as simple as that becomes a system. So it's really important that we do that. Mr. Stenziano, what you got?
No, I think you're nailing it, man. I think you're talking the chasing the shiny objects. I had that written down, and it really did. It was interesting because it was I was just getting this feeling that Don rode the market initially when he got in, and then he learned to implement those systems, get the right processes and procedures down, get the right people on, and it was the same thing that you were talking about, Gino. It's a people, systems, and culture in the business. get educated, take action to get into it. And then it's like anything. It's people, systems, and culture. And I think that was the takeaway from today's show. So, Don, I really appreciate it.
All right. I appreciate being on. So,
all right,
Thanks,
guys.
Don.
Listen, have a good one. See you guys.
Take care.